to the entertainment Talking Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about two topics. One was an article that I pulled up on Giants Wire regarding one of the guys who I feel are the three favorites to be landed by the New York Giants in this year's draft with Tristan Wirfs. And he's been connected to the Giants pretty much this entire offseason, even before his combine where he absolutely killed it. So Tristan Wirfs is still very much on the New York Giants radar. It was reported by Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. I'll have that quote up there in a second, and we'll talk about that. In addition to that, I'm going to talk about a tweet that Yannick Ngakoue dropped 3 days before the draft, and I've pretty much been very outspoken talking about how I think Ngakoue will be traded by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think it would be in the Jaguars' best interest to trade him on draft night. I think that is when you would get the most value. Whether or not they will do that, that remains to be seen. Of course, I know I have a lot of subscribers of mine that are Jaguar fans, including Central Coast Climber, one of my best, but I just talk about, in the Jaguars' best interest. I think it is best to trade him as soon as possible because the longer they wait, the less that they will get. And there's certainly a couple of suitors. The Giants have been one of the 4 or 5 most likely teams linked to getting Yannick Ngakoue. And I've talked about what they'd have to do in terms of the cap. The Giants would figure it out. They could definitely restructure some contracts. They could rescind the tag on Williams, or they could sign Williams to a 4-year deal. They have a lot of options on what they could do there. But if they wanted to bring in Yannick, they'd be able to make it work. Before I get started on the quotes, just want to let you guys know I'm going to be working on my my final mock drafts. And if you haven't seen it, I put it up in the community notes, and it's the closest vote I've ever had on my channel. It's 51%, 49%. We got just over 400 votes, and I'm going to have that up probably tomorrow. I want to know what I should prepare for first, so I'm letting you guys vote on whether you want a first-round final mock first or the Giants 7-round final mock. So I'll let you guys vote on that. So you guys have a little input with that. But let's jump into some of the quotes. The first thing I want to talk about was Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs, of course, the tackle prospect out of Iowa. A lot of people think he could be more of a guard. Well, news came out, I think this was actually yesterday, but I saw the report today from Jeremy Fowler, obviously very credited analyst from ESPN, talking about the New York Giants' interest with Tristan Wirfs. And like I said, I've reported on this with Ralph Vacchiano. Kim Jones has talked about it. The Giants and Wirfs have been linked for quite some time. This is what Fowler had to say. Giants are among teams in the top 10 that spent significant time with the offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs, getting to know him per source. He could be in play at 4, or if the New York Giants trade back. For all the buzz about wide receiver class, offensive tackles could also push the needle in the first round, and not just with the top 4 offensive tackles. So Jeremy Fowler there is telling you the Giants definitely have interest in Wirfs. They've definitely done their homework. They've spent significant time on this prospect. He's also saying that he thinks there could be a lot of tackles drafted in the first round and not just the consensus top 4. So interesting stuff there by Fowler. In addition to that, I wanted to go over just how good of a combine he had. I also wanted to talk about the quote that came out by Joe Judge. We'll get into that in a second, and how I link it to Wirfs. This was, I just want to go over how historic his combine was. And remember, the Giants were interested in Wirfs long before the combine. Wirfs had arguably the greatest workout of any offensive lineman in the history of the NFL Combine on Friday night. It begins with his explosion numbers, where Wirfs undoubtedly got the attention of every NFL scout. Wirfs posted an incredible 36.5-inch vertical leap, which is the best vertical of any offensive lineman in NFL Combine history. His 10-foot 1-inch broad jump is also an NFL Combine record. So on like 2 of the 4 things he participated in, he has the all-time record for an offensive lineman. And then later goes on to say, to put it simply, Wirfs is far and away the most naturally athletic offensive lineman in the 2020 NFL draft class. He put on a show at Indianapolis on Friday night, and it is only going to help his draft stock. The best part about his impressive testing is that Wirfs showed similar athleticism on tape. Wirfs is extremely quick off the ball and does an incredible job of moving in space. He is a powerful offensive lineman at the line of scrimmage, but Wirfs really shined on tape when he was asked to get out and in space and attack the second level. That's what people like about Wirfs. In addition to that, I wanted to pull up this quote that Joe Judge said, and it really, to me, links to Wirfs. That him and Becton, actually, before the reports came out about Becton, were the 2 players I thought of, based on his athletic potential and upside. For while the Giants are a conservative organization that traditionally would eye a lower risk, tried and true commodity with a premium pick, Judge introduced some anarchy by explaining his definition of what it means to be the best player available, in addition to production. To me, that means long-term upside, he said from his basement office in his Massachusetts home. He also went on to say quotes such as, paraphrasing a bit, but it's not about what they've done, it's about what we think we could get out of them. And you could certainly argue, based on his athletic potential, that the Giants may very well have an eye on him, being that he may very well have the highest upside of any offensive tackle in this year's class, whether it be at 4 or whether it be trading down, like Fowler said. The other thing I wanted to pull up for you guys was the talk about Yannick Ngakoue, and it was a quick tweet, but once again, he's stirring up drama on Twitter, and a lot of people point to that they were cryptic tweets at the beginning. There's nothing cryptic about what Yannick Ngakoue just said. This guy just don't care. He wants out of Jacksonville at all costs, and here's what he had to say. Tired of the back and forth with the Jaguars. Let's get this blank done. I don't curse on my channel, but that's what Yannick Ngakoue had to say regarding his time with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He wants out. There is no way in hell that Yannick Ngakoue will be a Jacksonville Jaguar next year. I can't see it. And if the Jacksonville Jaguars plan to bring this guy back, I think they are crazy. I think he's a clear distraction with that football team. I think he wants out. I think he wants a fresh start, and I think he wants a long-term contract, and he will be happy. The question is, how long will he be happy? And that's what the New York Giants have to ask themselves, or the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Cleveland Browns, or whoever is entertaining bringing in Yannick Ngakoue on their football team. He's certainly a very good football player. The Giants have expressed interest, supposedly, in the past before he was franchise tagged. Will they show interest on draft night, or will they show interest this offseason? We're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out, but it's going to be a very interesting 3 days of football coming up, and Yannick Ngakoue may very well be the big name that's traded on draft night. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.